Since 2017, the homeschooling community in Singapore has hosted an annual event, bringing inspiration and resources to homeschooling families in Singapore. This is the Homeschool Convention, the biggest event on the homeschooling calendar. It is the brainchild of Dawn Fung, a mother of 3 homeschooled kids.
Before we had the convention, we didn't really have something very dedicated for parents officially. If you are a parent, you will be meeting up with your friends in your small groups.
Homeschooling in Singapore is not a very public group in a sense. You need to look for people you know to be able to find more information, more relevant information that works for you.
What if you don't have a small group? What if you're new? What if you don't know anybody? A lot of things happen, but unless you know of a group that you could join, you really wouldn't even know where to start. The idea of a convention was to make sure that people really see that there's something for them.
It is a platform for homeschooling parents to be refreshed and for explorers to interact with homeschoolers and learn about the diverse educational paths available to them.
What the convention does is it brings everyone together. It gathers the entire homeschooling community regardless of the flavour of homeschooling, and it equips them with inspiration, it equips them with resources, it equips them with new friendships so that then they can go back home recharged and re-inspired.
The word that comes to mind the most is friendships. Friendships for myself, for my husband, for my kids. And I don't think anybody can say, we have such a community behind us. If your kids go to school, it's really not that experience. And so I think friends are so important, not just for homeschool kids, but for the homeschool parents as well.
It's very important that we feed the whole family. When we homeschool, we tend to feed our children. That's why we homeschool. Our children's education is very important. There are so many children's programs that are so good for the kids, but it requires a lot of work from the parents. What if there's a program just for parents? So when I did the convention, I wanted parents to come and listen to fellow homeschooling parents who are just like them. They don't have to be famous people. They don't have to be book authors. They just have to be people like you and me who are willing to speak about their journey.
So it's a place for us for the parents to recharge. So in that sense, it's a very important reset, in a year.
Though we call ourselves homeschoolers, but we're all very different, very unique. Every mom is different, every child is different, every family is different. We all come with different journeys, different baggages, different expectations, different ideas. And we come together with a common goal to give the best to our children. That's what makes the convention different. It's not that we want to take something out from each other. It's more than that we are reaching out to one another. We are coming together to learn from one another, to share our stories, to hear each other.
At first I was a bit apprehensive because I wasn't sure what I could bring to the table. But my fellow convention speakers have been very encouraging. So they asked me to speak from my heart. Therefore, this topic that I've chosen, I feel will speak to a lot of mothers or fathers who are on this journey, and they may feel at some point of time that they want to give up. So I hope to inspire these parents and give them the assurance that they are not alone. And as a community, you can help each other.
Homeschooling is constantly evolving. As our children grow up, we meet new challenges. None of us have all the answers, but with collective wisdom, the journey becomes easier. Since we pour so much of ourselves into our families, the convention is a place for us to recharge and renew ourselves. The convention also serves as a platform for professional coaching. Homeschooling is not any easier than classroom teaching. Instead of a class of 30 or 40 in one level, we are facing children of various ages. Customization for the holistic development of each child is a skill that requires an investment of time and effort.
Homeschoolers in Singapore have grown in numbers but still represent a small percentage of the local educational scene. Community events such as the Homeschool Convention provide much-needed support for these families.
I think homeschooling is always going to be an outlier choice in Singapore. It's never going to be the mainstream option. I think if we represent such a small group and we are a minority and then we're outlier, then we have to look out for each other. We have to have an event where we say, hey, I see you and I know you, and these are our voices.
The Homeschool Convention, as it has been currently designed, where just regular mum and dads share their experiences, share the gems of homeschooling, what has worked, what has not worked, even though it can get dreary, even though it can get really tiring and stressful, bearing the burden of having to educate our own children. Everyone's going through the same experiences, and we have a collective experience to draw upon. Even for those who are just exploring, just knowing that there is this community of enthusiastic, creative parents coming together to educate their children and having really exemplary kids. It's like a compass, a roadmap that parents can aspire towards.
One prominent feature of the convention is the curriculum fair. Options are varied, focusing on different modes of learning. At the fair, parents and teens run booths detailing the features of their preferred curriculum. Attendees have the opportunity to learn in depth about various curriculums from the perspective of those who are currently using them. They receive samples and can engage in Q&A sessions.
The Curriculum Fair is actually an annual event in the calendar of the homeschool community. As the name suggests, started off with the intention of showing the curriculum or the materials that various homeschool families were using, and also as an informal event for experienced homeschooling families to share with those who are just starting out or even those who are considering homeschooling.
Over time, it evolved into like a more professionally run organization. But since day one, I think that I have benefited from this community, from the sharing of resources, being able to see all these books that I thought I wanted to buy in physical forms, talk to the mothers who have used them, ask them what are the strengths or weaknesses of this and that curriculum. But more importantly, it is also about the entire experience and asking from all these veteran mothers what challenges have they gone through.
At the time, I didn't know who Dawn was, but I thought it would be a good idea to hold the convention and the curriculum fair together. In the first year, I would say the main challenge was finding a venue. It was hard to find a place that was suitable for our needs. Dawn managed to secure a lecture theatre kind of place for the keynote speeches. And then we rented a dance hall that was at the ground floor of that same building for the curriculum fair. And we were wondering whether the ticket revenue was even able to cover the cost of the event. But thankfully it did.
I'm Cheryl. I have 3 kids and I've been organizing the curriculum fair for the last 3 years. Because this is not the first year that I'm doing this curriculum fair, so I was really expecting it to be a breeze for me. But obviously, COVID threw us a curveball. There was challenges deciding whether we should go online or not. There were challenges whether we should charge the events. As you know, curriculum fair used to be chargeable. So this year, obviously, we turned it online. So obviously, that's the biggest change out there. And one of the other changes that we made is that we made it family focused. So in the past, you could go up to a person and ask them, how does this book or this curricula relate to you? How did you like it? But this time around, we focus on the family. So how the family integrates it. Do they use it wholly? Do they use only part of it in their entire homeschooling lives? So you get a greater insight as to how you can use this curriculum.
Another feature of the convention was the kids' drop-off zone. Kiddos is the babysitting arm of the Homeschool Convention. It was pioneered by 2 mums, Valerie and Wan Ling, who were assisted by homeschooling teams.
Together with Valerie, I was the organizer of the Kids Drop-Off Zone, KDOS, for the first convention back in 2017.
I was head of Kiddos team for the Homeschool Convention this year.
Dawn, the organizer of the first convention, she was asking the community for suggestions on how we can improve on her ideas. And I said that we needed childcare for the parents who are going for the convention. And we all agreed that was a real need. She invited me to head the team. And I took a while to consider before I finally agreed, because it's such a huge responsibility and honor to be given the chance to care for children, and I'm glad I took it up.
I joined Kiddos last year as a member, and I volunteered because I enjoyed working with homeschool moms, and I particularly enjoy working with young children and taking care of them. That's why this year I decided to serve again. Dawn was the main organizer of the convention, asked me to be the head this year, and I gladly agreed.
KDOS really served it serves a real need because the Homeschool Convention is organized by parents for parents, and the convention team needs their children to be in a safe place so that they can concentrate on serving, and the participants also need childcare services so that they can get the most out of the event.
So we plan programs and activities for the children, and we also take care of their routine needs, like if they need to go to the toilet, attend to any specific needs from the parents. So it's a safe and fun place for the children to be at during the Homeschool Convention.
Since the inaugural event in 2017, the annual convention has seen its share of challenges. However, under Dawn's foresight and perseverance, the first convention survived many setbacks.
I have never done it before, so I don't know what to do. That's one. And number two, because I don't know what to do, I couldn't really invite other people to be part of it because I felt that would be very irresponsible to get them on board and say, I don't know what's going on. So what I did was to try to do everything myself. I did the registration, I did the publicity, I did the programming. I was feeling very burnt out towards the middle of preparing for the convention because I didn't know how much I was taking on. I think I'm quite a perfectionist, so I like everything very beautiful. Unfortunately, you can only have very beautiful things when you share the load, because if you do it all by yourself, you're going to turn out very ugly in the end. I had wonderful friends who came on board to help. Vivian Quack, she came with me to recce the place to give me ideas, tiered ticketing, which we later implemented. Valerie and Wan Ling, who says, okay, I'll do the kids drop-off zone for you so that other parents can rest. Registration later on, I had Ivy and Fernie, who just showed up and says, I'll do it. And they took over the registration. And we had the curriculum fair. Shan Chua ran the curriculum fair. So the team was small, very resilient. They just pop up whenever I needed help.
The 2019 convention introduced a new component, High School Day. Homeschooled youths shared about their journeys from the platform, addressing them from a teen's perspective, the burning questions that people have about homeschooling.
Homeschooling can be a bit of a hard sell if you only hear from parents, because you want to justify your choices. You want to say, hey, I homeschool and this is amazing, but what about the kids? Do they think it's amazing? Yeah, I mean, they are the products of your homeschooling. And prior to High School Day, I've already spoken to a lot of teens, and I've heard the voices of some homeschooling adults, and I've gone online to see that it's not the same. Just because the parents like homeschooling doesn't mean the child enjoyed it. When you see young people up there who have been homeschooled, it answers a lot of your questions, especially the socializing bit and whether your kids will have a future. Because you see that, hey, these kids are pretty neat. What I like about High School Day is we don't have to dress up homeschooling. We don't have to make it into this idealized educational option. It works for the kids that worked out. It didn't work so well for the kids that didn't enjoy it. And you need to be able to hear all these things because it shows that we value every child that comes our way. I don't want to just cherry pick kids who are the cream of the crop. I don't want to have a judgment value like that. I want to say that if you're a homeschool teen and you're willing to speak, I'd like to give you a space and I'd like you to tell your story. And behind the scenes, I would tell the kids, it's okay to be honest. If you didn't have a good time, tell us why and tell us how we can improve.
When I was invited to speak, I was actually a bit worried of coming up to talk because it was my first experience to do public speaking. But after my mom came to tell me about it, I began to realize that, why not I take this opportunity to share with others what I have gone through so that I could also encourage fellow homeschoolers and encourage others who are considering the opportunity to be a homeschooler.
When all the speakers met for the first time, I would say I wasn't really prepared yet. So for subsequent meetings, I had to at least have editing of my slides and my script for every single day. Apart from that, I would always try to watch certain videos on how to do public speaking because I've never done it before in terms of towards this kind of audience. So I thought that I should at least have some kind of foundation, and that would be achieved by watching some videos on YouTube.
I think because of the situation right now, everything is going virtual. So I think the fact that we can still have a convention even though everyone's just in our own homes is unique in a way. For the people who come to the convention to connect with the speakers or to connect with the people sharing about what they're doing in homeschooling, is just very unique. Not many conferences do that.
For the first time, participants were able to view the homeschooling experience through the lens of those who are in the midst of this journey and those who have already graduated. Furthermore, when parents return to help out in the convention, they bring perspectives for the future, improving it year on year.
I think that it's everyone's responsibility to mentor people who are, less experienced and who really need that. Mostly because we all needed that when we were first starting, and so I consider it a privilege to be able to pass on anything that I've learned, and I will always help whenever there's an opportunity to. I will always step up and try to do something.
For me, I also have thought of giving up, or having cold feet in my homeschooling journey, because I always have this thinking that maybe you're not good now, you're doing the wrong things. But then to be able to encourage fellow homeschooling families that it's okay, it's all right. We fail at times, but at the end of it, the sacrifices are worth it.
We have so much that we can offer to not just the homeschool community, but as well as to people who are exploring alternatives to traditional school. So if we are able to expand this and reach even to wider community who are curious, who are interested, and to share the passion that we homeschool parents have for educating our kids, when it comes back to them going back to their children and helping their children maybe revise for the schoolwork and all that, the way in which they do it will have a very different essence. Then as a whole society, I would say everybody would benefit. The kids especially would benefit, because then they're not just bound by desk work, but they could, the parents might get some ideas from the homeschoolers and then do something that's more interesting, that will help the kids to learn better and remember longer.
In 2020, the convention planning took an unexpected shift due to the COVID-19 situation. At the helm of the online convention is Mark Lim.
This convention is a milestone. Regardless of homeschool or non-homeschool, I don't think many people can say they have organized an event of this nature with 2 full days of proceedings. The textile talks in the morning, followed by the 25 breakout groups in the afternoon, and the next day another series of textile talks. And the curriculum fair, which was another monster of an event to organize and to implement. So if you talk about the whole thing, the whole event, it was definitely a huge milestone, not only for the homeschool community, but I believe for e-conventions in general.
The e-convention this year has given us confidence and tools to know that actually an online convention is very doable, and in fact it can bring a lot more people together. I've never done it. This is my first time. This is Uncle Mark's first time as well. It's a blessing in disguise, because moving it online means that we can save money on other things, and we can also spend money on maybe equipment and hire, which will help bring everybody together. I'm looking forward to an ASEAN Homeschool Convention in 2022. I want to work with Philippines. I went to speak at the Philippine Homeschool Convention last year. I like to include them. I like to talk to Cambodia. I like to talk to Malaysia. Homeschoolers in Brunei. We're all neighbors. The ASEAN Convention will be fully online, and which will give us an advantage, because anybody who has a Wi-Fi can attend, and it shouldn't be about who can afford to fly over or stay over in Singapore or whichever countries. We don't have to fight over that. We want to take advantage of this more, and to see how we can keep leveling up the ground so that everybody has an equal opportunity to gain resource and access and to be a part of this. I don't think Singapore always has the best. Just because we're a first world country, what is the best? It's very subjective as well. But I think if we can always be in a place where we are learning, then that is a mark of great education. And to be in a posture of humility and to say there's always something out there that somebody we can learn from.
Well, I think at some point it would be wonderful to have speakers coming in from other parts of the world. Like Dawn and I have had the opportunity to speak at the Philippine Homeschool Convention. Wouldn't it be exciting to have somebody come from the Philippines or other ASEAN nations around us and share what homeschooling is like in the nations around us? Because you hear both how we're very similar, but also some of the big differences that different governments and different countries experience in their homeschool journey.
Although the future is uncertain, the convention will still remain part of the homeschooling event calendar in the years to come. The form that it takes is only limited by the innovative minds of the homeschool parents and teens working behind the scenes. The story of the Homeschool Convention comprises many voices. These are the voices of homeschooling parents, kids, and graduates, inspiring more to join their voices in telling the story of homeschooling in Singapore.